This is the first morning in my life without a real job. This is a story about how I ended up at that decision. Let's rewind to 2014. I graduated college and moved out west to Oregon, not knowing a damn thing about it. I was 21 and offered an internship at a corrections department. Basically, it was totally unpaid, and after my internship was over, I was eventually hired on by the department. At that time, I was seeing people in this job that were older than me becoming extremely burnt out and really talking negatively about their job. And as somebody that thinks they're gonna make this a career, that's something that you really didn't want to see in older people. You wanted them to be a role model for you rather than someone that was basically the antithesis of a role model. I kept working and I would go on trips when I got the approval to do so, which was actually quite frequently because my bosses were very much into the adventure mindset and were very supportive of me going out and doing my own thing. In 2019, I went on a section hike of the Pacific Crest Trail and I started uploading a lot of Instagram stories, just kind of doing some of the behind the scenes of my experience there, and got a lot of positive approval from that. And that was kind of the first time where I thought, well, maybe I can really do something with this video thing, because I always had in the back of my mind that because of the stuff that I would do on weekends, I felt like it was unique enough that people might be interested in it. The only thing that I would have to do is just document it. In 2020, everything was flipped on its entire head. Our department started working from home, and this was really what started to change everything for me. Up until this point, I was fine with going into the office, but as soon as we started working from home, that mentality in me started to switch. That year, I went on the John Muir Trail, made a documentary on it, and realized I really loved filmmaking. That same year, I also started to go viral on TikTok. In 2021 is when I really started getting paid from brands, and that was a really big switch for me to really start to realize that I could make this an actual life. But what really came to a head was after completing the Colorado Trail that summer, our department, after about 18 months of working from home, went back to being in office full time. And now, as anybody from a thru hike knows, when you get back from a thru hike and you have to integrate back into the society that you were living, you go from camping and doing whatever you want every single day to now having a structured routine inside of an office, inside of a place that you can't leave. It was absolutely demoralizing for me. It was in 2021 where I thought to myself, I am going to go so hard at doing this content that I am going to make this my job. I am not going to work in an office for 30 more years of my life. Now, in 2022, I really doubled down on my content and working with brands and ended up making more than I actually did at my 9-to-5 job. I really wanted to create a lifestyle around what I love to do rather than having to do something I went to college for when I declared a major when I was 18 years old and didn't know anything about life. Basically, every single time I went to work in 2022, I was absolutely miserable because I was seeing it as I was getting time taken away from basically building myself. I realized that the more effort and the more time I put into creating content, the more I would get paid and the better I would feel about it and the more passionate I was and the more snowball effect that it created for me. My fiance ended up getting a job in Wyoming, and we kind of had the decision of whether we wanted to go or not. And for a week, I grappled with, should I leave my job? It's so secure. I have only 2 years left on my student loans to get paid for the 10-year government forgiveness. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot make it 2 more years. Got convinced that I can do this. I have the skills to do this. I need to believe in myself and I can do this. So we both put in our notices to our employers and we were going to leave December 28th. Unfortunately, as we were getting all of our stuff in order, such as medical appointments and everything like that, she experienced what was called trigeminal neuralgia after going for a root canal at the dentist, and everything got put to a halt. She couldn't do her job. It was a very, very extremely scary time. So yeah, essentially we were not able to go and we ended up having to stay here. It was very difficult for me because it took a lot for me to get to the point where I wanted to quit my job, and I was confident in that. And after talking myself up into it for so long, it was very tough to now go back and reverse everything. But we know that life rarely works out the way that it usually should or what we think. Now, we had a chunk of time off during the holidays, and I will never forget this. We had all this time off during the holidays, and I had a great time. I was super productive with content, and on the way back from splitboarding, I was listening to this audiobook called You Are a Badass at Making Money. And one of the things she talked about was needing to change the energy that you're around every single day. Because if it's negative, that is going to subconsciously rub off on you. And when I got back into work that day, on that Tuesday, I immediately felt my energy just go, just like that. And had a coworker that I was coming back from break, asked me very aggressively where the garbage cans were, and was just not happy. Just was not happy. And at that moment, I knew that I could no longer work in that environment anymore. And that was when I decided to put my 2 weeks notice in right away. I went in there, I drafted it up, I did it, and I submitted it actually 2 days later once my boss was back in office. So yes, this is my first official day where I do not have to go into work. I did a lot of things for some brands this morning, and I'm trying to get into the groove of what my life truly looks like now that I am my own boss, which is very, very crazy to say because I've worked for that department for nearly a decade. And really right now, what I'm doing is really the opposite of what every person says to do, which is make sure you get the good job, get the good benefits, and retire after 30 years. And for me, I just could not live my life that way. I knew that I would live with regret if I did not do this, because I had a really unique opportunity. To be completely honest with you, this is the most uncomfortable I've ever felt in my entire life. I did not sleep last night. I still have this kind of interesting feeling of, was this the right move? It's very, very scary. So if this is something you want to know more about, leave a comment below if you like this type of kind of, I guess, vlog. If you want to see where I'm at in a month, I'll do maybe a month update if that's something that you're interested in. I would love to hear your comments about it below. Yeah, I'm on my own. I don't know. It's crazy.